Both humans and bats have eaten insects for ages, and as insects become a more popular choice for sustainable meat, we're learning more about their nutritive content and flavors. I'm sci fi writer Casey Hudson, and this is the foundational science for turning insect based diets into sci fi cuisine. One of the species in my Drifting Amalgams universe is based on the Mexican free tailed bat. To tackle the challenges of world building food for them, I'm starting by looking at real world bat diets. Commonly, bats eat seeds and fruits, or insects. Mexican free tailed bats specifically are insectivores, and since they eat their body weight in insects every night, they're pretty opportunistic, basically eating any flying insect that they can catch. Mostly moths, flying ants, beetles, and mayflies. What this can mean for a bat's nutritional intake depends on the metamorphic stage and habitat of their prey. But when consuming ants, bats usually receive a significant amount of protein and fiber, also minerals like iron, zinc, and magnesium. Beetles, too, are high in protein and minerals, and they're low in fat. Nutritively, insects are small but mighty. Compared to beef, many insects have more calcium, iron, B12, zinc, and vitamin A when you compare them gram for gram. Pretty basic so far, but is there a flip side? If these are the ways that food helps, how does food hurt? Because Mexican free-tailed bats need a lot of energy for flight, it's uncommon for them to overeat. They simply can't hunt enough to overeat their caloric needs. So my sci-fi species wouldn't overindulge, not if I base their behavior on current trends. But what about allergies? According to researchers, bats do experience allergies. So far, though, studies seem to be limited to external irritants like grass, trees, and insect bites. So this research isn't directly relevant to world building food. But maybe I can still work the idea of food allergies into my world with a little loose science. Here's what I'm thinking. In real world, people who have food allergies to shrimp and lobster are usually allergic to insect cuisine as well. This shared allergy has to do with a muscle protein common to invertebrates, and it means that I have a real world basis for a food allergy, but only because I'm creating an anthropomorphic species. Obviously, it doesn't make sense for an insectivore to be allergic to their only food source, but I'm talking about creating a technologically advanced, spacefaring culture. Their food sources can be insect-like without being exactly like the invertebrates of our world. Let's put a pin in that idea for a couple minutes. The essence of world-building food encompasses more than just nutrition. It also includes flavor. But bats don't tell us how their food tastes, so I'll need to use human-based research for this one. Research from scientists and chefs. Unofficially, chefs place insects into three-ish flavor categories. The first category is nutty and earthy. The nutty aroma is said to be much like seeds, nuts, or mushrooms, and it's an aroma they get from a chemical compound called pyrazines. A trail hormone in insects, pyrazines are also the key flavor that develops when baked goods are in the oven. Even coffee, chocolate, and wine derive flavors from pyrazines. This is why it's not surprising that weaver ants are described as having a nutty, sweet, and caramel-like aroma. The second flavor category is seafood and fishy. Beetles are popular in this category. Their flavor is often described as shrimp-like, though some have described it as bacon-esque. There's not a lot of agreement about why this flavor is prevalent, but some popular ideas include pheromones, an aquatic diet, or that invertebrate muscle protein I mentioned earlier. The third common flavor is meaty and savory, and not just savory, but umami too. Commonly eaten in this category are grasshoppers, which are said to have an acidic mushroomy earthiness. Also in this category are crickets, which are known to taste a bit like edamame. Again, not a lot of scientific explanation about why this flavor is present, but I'd guess that because insects are meat, they're savory like meat. So I mentioned that there are three-ish flavor categories. That's because some insects give off aromas in addition to their core flavors. Where an ant may taste earthy, it may also have a citrus or vinegar zing. This is a common description for black ants thanks to the formic acid they secrete from their venom glands. This attribute combined with their size often results in black ants being used as garnishes and flavor enhancers. Okay, that's a lot, so I'm going to consolidate for my world building exercise. I'll note that my Tadari Bird culture has cuisine with flavors like fish, baked goods, and meat, and they have flavor enhancements akin to lemon, coffee, chocolate, and miso. There's just a little something more that I need to jot down before I can start world building food dishes. insect textures are said to be anywhere from tender to crunchy, depending on species, and they're served raw, roasted, or fried to bring out their desired chew factor. Some are even ground into flours or paste, particularly for baking. Now that I've got all this listed, time for a little sci-fi world building. Before I start world building, we should probably revisit that pin. I was suggesting that advanced civilizations can avoid food allergens. This can easily be done with something like antihistamines, but how about something a bit more sci-fi themed? What about lab-grown meats? Essentially, this is meat that was never a full animal. Stem cells are fed nutrients and grown in a bioreactor. Then muscle fat and connective tissue are differentiated and harvested. I like this concept, but I want to give myself options for narrative conflict. So, in the Drifting Amalgams universe, lab-grown meat is more expensive than traditional insect farm meat. Thus, 3D printed food is available as a budget-friendly but less healthy choice for those with special dietary needs. Both stem cell and food printer mediums can be engineered to be nutritively balanced while excluding common allergens. And with a bioreactor and a culinary biochemist on every ship, and a 3D printer in every kitchen, that takes care of the first few world building points. Now, on to flavor. Based on my notes, I've designed several dishes in my sci-fi cuisine to have nutty essences. Similarly, savory seasonings are frequently used to heighten the natural meaty flavor found in many insects. I've also thrown in flavor enhancers like the sour of ants, but these flavor enhancements are often found in condiments rather than infused into main dishes. And now, textures. When planet-side, Dari Bray can eat farmed or market-fresh insects. When used for pastries, this ingredient is ground into pyrazine-rich flour. But when enjoyed as a meaty treat, insects are often eaten raw. The uncooked meat retains the crunch that Dari Bray commonly prefer, though insects of questionable origin are often cooked to avoid foodborne disease. To help me conceptualize this food while writing, I've envisioned several insect-based dishes. Favorite dishes include cricket flour crackers with weaver ant spread, ant and beetle skewers, and cricket crunchers, a snack primates like into popcorn. And just like that, I've created a sci-fi cuisine. The full world build for this culture's cuisine has more example foods and thoughts on eating during special occasions. If you're interested in checking it out, I've posted it on my Patreon. But as I'm revising my draft, this foundational world build is definitely enough to keep me writing. Until next time, stay curious.